Hey, this is Josh Keaton, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Welcome to episode 7 of Podcaster Meets World, brought to you by the Geekcast Radio Network. I am one of your hosts, TFG1Mike. Joining me, as always, Steve Megatron. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Today we're going to be talking about the first half of Boy Meets World, and we're doing this a little differently this time around because normally what I've noticed in our previous episodes is that Boy Meets World generally has 22 episode seasons, so I figure 11 and 11. Well, Disney Plus done fucked up with episodes 11 and 12 of season 4, so we are only covering episode 1 through 10 today. In part 1, what do you remember from season 4? Because I remember nothing before actually watching
Going back and rewatching it, I remember the episodes. Like telling me, have you watched season 4? Have you watched season 3? No, I can't name individual episodes. But if you tell me, hey, do you remember this episode? Or have you watched this episode? Like, because I don't necessarily remember them without watching them again. But I was kind of. I remember some of them very vividly, and other ones I remember like kind of not really paying attention when it aired the first time.
Yeah, I did not remember most of this. I remembered episode 2, Hair Today, Goon Tomorrow, because that's the infamous episode where Topanga cuts her hair off, and Sean's like, she's gonna scream. Yep, she's gonna scream.
Words, Topanga. Use your words.
Well, am I any different now?
Well, somewhat less predictable, but no, you're right. I'd love you no matter what you looked like.
Good. Glad you learned something.
She's gonna scream now.
I don't remember. So that's the interesting thing about Boy Meets World season 3 and season 4. I forgot about the summer thing. Like, yes, I know we did just do season 3 a little while ago here on the podcast, but I don't think I was watching back in the day to remember. And I haven't watched the show in years. I really haven't. I think I might have watched it when it first hit Disney Channel a couple of years ago. But for me, Boy Meets World has always been like the first couple seasons and then seasons 5 through 7. So that middle section, the middle high school type section, I'm like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I remember these. Like, yeah, I liked it better when you had, Turner and you had the AV teacher. I can't remember his name right now. But I know we just did it, but...
Yeah.
Still. Anyways, I liked it better during those times, like this little awkward kind of where he's at right now.
Yeah.
It was more like goofy.
Yeah.
However, I did like that it evolved in other areas.
Oh yeah, it evolved so much in other areas. Again, why I don't remember half of it is because a majority of season 4 deals with Sean and his life and all of that. It also deals with Alan and Amy, and Alan doing, saying he doesn't like being the grocer and this, that, and the other thing and all that. Half the stuff, like, I forgot Sean's mom came back.
Yeah, I vaguely remembered it, but I didn't fully grasp it until rewatching. And still, like, even then, she's forgettable. Like, I mean, honestly...
Yeah.
Because, like, she doesn't stick around.
Of course she doesn't. She ran away the first time. Why wouldn't she run away again?
I always thought that the dad was more interesting anyway.
Yeah, and we have a really, really good dad episode in this season. At least, well, we have a lot of good dad episodes, I'm sure, but season 4, episode 6, Janitor Dad, when Verna gives Chet an ultimatum to find work, and he goes and becomes the janitor of the school, and that causes Sean all kinds of emotional turmoil and everything else, but his dad's just doing a job. And that's one thing this season, at least this first half of the season, shows you is the differences between the Matthews and the Hunters. And sometimes they and I'm not saying this to be, this isn't a negative piece, but they kind of literally throw it in your face. But they also tell you, look, we don't, like the Matthews don't care that the Hunters don't have what they make a specific point to say that, hey, look, we can all be one big, friendly people.
Mm-hmm.
And this half of season, I don't know if the other half of season 4 has any special episodes, but this half of season 4 has episode 7, Singled Out. Oh boy, the 90s and Chris Hardwick and Singled Out.
Yeah, I didn't care for that episode, but I never watched it when it was on television, so it didn't resonate with me.
Yeah, I only ever really watched it whenever Jenny McCarthy was on there at the time. And at the time, I didn't know who the hell Hardwick was in the 90s. I knew he was the MTV game show host of Singled Out. That's all I knew. And, X number of years later, there's Nerdist, there's this, there's that, there's whatever. I love the juxtaposition of 16 candles and 400-pound men. Episode 9, where we have Topanga's Sweet 16 birthday party and Vader, Frankie's dad, going up against Jake the Snake Roberts because Vader is in the World Wrestling Federation. Because guess what, folks? Back in those days, it was called the WWF. I thought this episode was interesting because it has Corey making decisions between friends and girlfriend and all of that. And it had, he wants to do the right thing for both. He just can't. And it's that traditional, let me run this way for 20 minutes. Let me run that way for 20 minutes. And juggling multiple things. And
yeah,
I remember those days. I couldn't do it then, and I refuse to do it now. I'm too old and too lazy. But again, the season 4 is, I feel, at least these first 10 episodes are all about growth. Are all about everybody can be who they are without it being a put down to anyone else. Like I mentioned earlier with Janitor Dad. Nothing wrong with being a janitor. It's hard work. They even go on to do an episode about the lunch lady passing away. And I thought that was really cool and interesting. And that'll come back way, way, way down the road when we get to Girl Meets World.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite episode of these 10?
I like the particular episode where Alan quits his job.
Mm-hmm. I ain't washing no more lettuce.
Yeah. He's like, I'm done. And then they, go, he makes this big O decision.
Mm-hmm.
And
you didn't get it.
No, I got it. I walked in, I said to Pete, we got to talk. He said, Alan, nothing to talk about. How's $5,000?
5,000? Come inside. Sit in the nice chair.
Amy, I think I could have gotten even more.
Well, then sit in the nice chair and use the nice phone, call Pete and ask for it.
Well, actually, I don't think calling Pete would make much sense.
Why not?
Because I don't work there anymore, Amy. I quit. Would you pass the potatoes?
Dad, you quit your job? We're gonna be poor.
We're not gonna be poor.
Alan, how could you quit your job without even discussing it with me?
We're discussing it now.
Oh, so no decision was actually made?
No, a decision was made. Now it's time for the very important discussion that follows the making of the decision.
Alan, if we had discussed this before a decision was made, I might have gently pointed out that we have children to feed and bills to pay.
Bye-bye, car.
Amy, I would never put this family at risk. We have a little money saved up, and one day I hope to go into business for myself. That way Eric could come work for me.
Hey, you hear that? I'm going to be responsible for the well-being of this family.
Bye-bye house.
You see, Amy, nothing to worry about. I made a good decision.
Fine. I made one, too.
What decision did you make?
Well, that if you're allowed to make a unilateral decision about something which affects this entire family, then so am I.
Well, what decision are you going to make?
I don't know yet. But one day, I will make a decision which affects this entire family because you did. And our relationship is an equal partnership, isn't it?
Yes.
But don't you worry, because I'll talk it over with you afterwards.
Job and tells them, and Corey is just freaking out the whole time. Like, we're going to be living on the street. And then, like, Alan's not worried about it whatsoever. And Sean's trying to school him on how to be poor.
See, that's I look at the Matthews and I look at that family and, okay, it's a family of 3. Yes, Eric is supposedly supposed to be
gone.
Graduated high school and college and whatever. And they also do make a big deal out of that kind of they don't really focus on Eric's journey, but I think season 4, the beginning here is where they start using Eric as just comedy relief.
Yeah, there's a couple of those episodes for sure in here.
In these first 10.
It was, and I kind of miss Smart Eric.
Yeah.
Because I felt like once they turned him like dumb, not that it wasn't enjoyable at certain points, but there were certain points it's like, okay, this is just a bit far.
Yeah. See,
it's like it's not that interesting.
Yeah. So in season 2 and season 3, they gave Eric all this growth. They gave Eric all this responsibility with Tommy, with this, that, and the other thing and everything else. And then by season 4, it's like, well, he's aimless. He has no direction. He doesn't know what he wants to do. And a lot of us at that age didn't know what we wanted to do if we weren't going to college or if we didn't get into college or whatever. But it's like now they want to basically make him the comedy relief until eventually Jack will show up at some point once they actually do get to, Eric does have a turnaround, and he does in the future. But anyway, with these episodes, with these 10 here, my point in saying all this is you have Eric, Corey, and Morgan. You have Amy and Alan. So you have a family of 5 living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in, let's just say it's the 90s. I mean, it could only be the 90s because it couldn't be the 80s. I don't see them middle class maybe, but they're not poor, but they're not like, even though Sean is actively poor, like his life is extremely hard. I mean, they live in a trailer park for crap's sake. And I can kind of understand and see why he would say that Corey and his family are rich. And they go on to make all these remarks at times about, oh, where did you sleep last night? In my bed. Oh, you slept indoors. Great. You have a trailer, Sean. It's not exactly a, 7-bedroom house or whatever for a family of 5, but I don't know. Am I wrong in thinking that they tried to nail that too far?
I don't think you're wrong in thinking that. I think that they did kind of try and drag that out as long as they could. I feel like every twist and turn, they did try to make Sean feel like, oh, I'm poor, Not that that's not relatable, because a lot of people struggle. Mm-hmm. It's a real thing, and the broken home thing that he's got going on is totally real too. But I feel like that they, at times, were trying way too hard to make it stand out.
Yeah, they were trying way too hard to show the. Again, another thing in this part of this season 4 that they started was, they started talking about Robert Frost's, or the road not taken. 2 roads in a wood diverge. I should take the one less traveled by, and all that. And they've made that kind of the motif for these 10 episodes of Corey's on one road, Sean is on the other road, but it doesn't matter because they're best friends. What I do like is that we do see Sean's home not so broken. I mean, his dad's there finally, and they actually have words about when his dad was gone for the year that he was looking for his mom. His mom is there finally, so they are kind of together. They're not,
They're not together, but...
Yeah, I mean, they're not the most modern of families, but they're there. I don't know, because, again, for me, like, I didn't have the teenage years where, yes, my parents got divorced when I was 2 years old in 1982, but by the time I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, from 10 to 13, I was living with my mom. I would see my dad every once in a while, every chance he could kind of thing. But by the time I was 14, 15, and 16, I ended up living with my dad for a while. That didn't work. And I've said this before, and this is going to come up because as long as these issues are going on with Sean, it reminds me of things that are going on in my life where it's like, was I poor? Not as poor as Sean was, but I wasn't rich either. I mean, somebody who goes through the system of being a ward of the state, not exactly a rich kid kind of thing. And so I can kind of empathize and sympathize with Sean. But again, like I've said, I did not remember his mom and dad kind of coming back and having this whole trying to be a family together. I'm glad it's here. I think it's great. I think it's it's a character growth of where Sean will eventually end up down the road when he's an adult, because that shaped him, and he doesn't ever want he doesn't want what happened to him to happen to anyone else in his life kind of thing, obviously. And there was a lot of things to unpack with this. It's not, I mean, there are still some buddy things. There are still some funny moments. I mean, honestly, the whole Wrestlers episode was hilarious. I thought that was really great. Even though there are, a bunch of issues under that, I thought the comedy of the wrestling part, and again, you're getting, Frankie as a character and seeing, how his family life is. And this show, even though it stars Ben Savage and Ryder Strong and Alan and Amy and all that, like, normally these family shows, there's like a star and you follow that character's journey. This show, it's such a family television show that the entirety of the cast you follow. Like, the only thing so far we have not really gotten in these 10 episodes is anything to do with Topanga's family.
Yeah. Which that eventually comes too.
Right, it does. Absolutely. What else did you like with this half of season 4?
Well, aside from that episode, I thought it was kind of interesting that Corey was friends with the lunch lady in, I believe that's the same episode as the mom fishing for Verna, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. I enjoyed that. I could see where Sean would be somewhat embarrassed about his dad being the janitor at the school. Mm-hmm. Because, as a teenager and as a kid, like, you don't want that. Like, you don't want your parents really anywhere near where you're at.
True.
Just because it's just awkward socially, and a lot of people just don't respond well to it, you could say.
But I think the lesson in this episode
is he was trying to work.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with, like, his son, like his social status. He was trying to work to provide, which was something that Sean wasn't paying attention to.
Right. But it also, like, if you look at the the scene in that episode with Sean and Chet, you know, where he's like, "You're my son. I wasn't near you. You know, I wasn't around a lot. Well, here I am."
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though they're not gonna, I mean, they might say hi to each other in the hallways, but they're not gonna hang out. I mean, he's like you said, he's there to do a job. Sean is there to learn. That kind of thing. Eli Williams. That's what Alex Desert's character's name is. Yeah, I did miss him this season. I thought they were really doing a really good service with adding him for a secondary class, and I'm not sure why they took that away as far as the story goes. I don't know what was going on with the actor or the whatever behind the scenes stuff. Is it weird that Feeney is now the principal, or has he been the principal the whole time?
He's been the principal the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah. He was the principal the minute they got there, and they're like, guess what? No more Feeney. And then Feeney like, shows up around the corner, and they're like, you know. And
I will say there are, and they'll probably be in this episode somewhere because I don't remember them right off the top of my head. There were a lot of good Feeney lines in these 10 episodes.
Well, Feeney always tended to get that knowledge that you would get from like Wilson on Home Improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made him really enjoyable. Was he was like your, for all intents and purposes, like how everybody compared Bob Saget to being America's dad.
Yeah,
he was like America's teacher, grandpa.
Yep. And for me, it's so great when I hear him do various things, because I'm like, hey, that's Kit from Knight Rider, because he was the voice of Kit from Knight Rider.
You wait here. The foreman will come by and drop the evidence in the window in about 2 minutes.
Now I'm a mobile mailbox.
But no, there are so many, like, Mr. Feeney's a funny guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he's got a dry humor.
Yeah, it's a dry humor, but it's not so horribly awful or anything like that. This season, I forget which episode it is, but this is the one where they always use the clip of
2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
Okay, now, what do we take from this poem?
Interesting, in my class, Mr. Hunter handles the yipping.
Sean, it's both of them.
Oh, no, now I don't know which class I slept through.
Mine, Hunter. Remember The Road Not Taken?
A remarkable poem in which the poet tells us that we make choices in life, and each choice puts us on a new road that can have a profound effect on our destinies.
This is the season where that comes from. I was like, oh, this is so, man. This show has so many good moments. It has so many moments that, because it is full-on family, like, I don't remember family television like this. I know family television existed with, like, Family Ties, which was a little bit different because it was more political, or with Family Matters, or even with The Cosby Show, or like you were saying, with Home Improvement, and with, like, Everybody Loves Raymond and that kind of stuff. But for me, Boy Meets World, so far on this, look back through this series, this show was so goddamn good.
Well, and it was relatable.
Mm-hmm. It's relatable 40-something or 20, 30-something years later. I'm watching these episodes and I'm tearing up at certain points, and I'm like, wow, yep, I know what that's like. Anything else you want to say? What did you think of the turkey episode, the Thanksgiving episode?
Well, it was interesting, especially having the different families all there trying. I don't know. It wasn't bad. I like that they made the effort. Whether it works or not, it's still there.
Right, yeah.
And for how intertwined Sean is in the Matthews family's life.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's nice to see them more integrated.
Yeah.
And then they kind of show the differences on how, upbringing and how people are raised and how they turn out based on that.
Yep.
Which is very true.
We have Frankie's younger brother Herman wanting to date Morgan. I don't know. I've always felt like some of those kid romances, like you look at Rudy Huxtable and Kenny in the Cosby Show. I always thought that was kind of. I always look at that kind of stuff and think, oh, how innocent that they are, kind of thing. Like, I don't know. It's just one of them things. Coming up next time on part 2, we will be talking about the other 11 episodes or 12 episodes of the series. And again, I feel like it's going to be very interesting because I'm looking at some of these descriptions of these episodes and I do not remember a damn thing. Ooh, season 4 has a 2-parter. A Long Walk to Pittsburgh, parts 1 and 2. I don't remember any of this.
I'm sure it'll come back to me when I watch them.
Yeah.
Because I watched all of this every week, TGI Friday.
Yep.
And what year did Boy Meets World end?
So 7 seasons, 93 to 2000.
Okay. So it was before I worked. So I watched it every week.
Okay. Yeah, I did not. And I am really, really curious about this because the next episode that we have coming up, the start, an affair to forget, includes us. Oh my God, that's right.
What?
Okay, so here's a preview, folks. So in the I did not forget about this. In the 11th episode, An Affair to Forget.
Is that where Corey?
Sean is in shock when his girlfriend Jennifer dumps him. To try to help him, Corey starts bad-mouthing Jennifer to Sean. So Jennifer is the future Mrs. Minkus.
Oh, that's funny.
Same actor. I mean, I remember the character. I remember the character like it's yesterday. I don't exactly remember this episode, but I remember she did date Sean before eventually ending up with Minkus. And I just looked up the actress, and it is the same actress in this 1996 episode as it is in Girl Meets World.
That's funny.
Yes. It's awesome. Very, very cool. All right. What do you got going on, sir? Since we don't do a lot of Podcaster Meets World very often. I'm looking at
the usual, the podcasts that I'm normally on, all things Transformers, Altered Geek, Studio, the occasional Tooncast, working on custom action figures.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, looking at Podcaster Meets World's history, we started this on February 2nd, 2016. We had 1 episode in 2018, 3 episodes in 2018, and then the last 3 episodes last year in 2021. So it's been a long journey for us to get this show done, but it has been fun, and I absolutely love going back and watching this show. It's a real joy to watch this specific show. So
I've been watching it while I've been crafting my figure that I'm working on.
Yep.
So it's entertaining and lethargic to sit and somewhat pay attention to it while I'm crafting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so fun. It's like I'm rediscovering this show, like I said, because season 3, 4, and part of 5, I do not remember. Season 6 and 7, I remember like the back of my hand, because season 6 and 7 was the wedding and Angela and Sean and rocks with squirrels or books with squirrels or something with squirrels with a Batman suit or something. I don't remember.
Well, I also remember during the wedding that they got arrested.
Yep.
Because Eric is an idiot.
Of course.
He's like, my brother's an idiot. And he's like, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I don't know. I enjoy the show for what it is. And I It's very timeless. I remember watching it again for the first time since it aired when Mary and I first moved out together. And I found somebody, I think I paid and this was back in the day when you couldn't get stuff. Mm-hmm. They didn't even have it on DVD. It was no way to get it. I think I paid $70 on eBay for... Somebody had recorded them all on VHS tapes at one point and converted them to a DVD.
Oh, wow.
Converted all of the series. And so, you had half a season on each disc. And
very cool.
And so I still have those in the basement. And there's, one episode where it's a little goofy. And, the something was wrong with the recording. But...
Okay.
But anyways, I was excited when Hulu had it, and then now Disney Plus has it, so I don't ever have to get those out because one, I'm lazy and I don't use discs anymore.
Absolutely. And I mean, I want to do this myself, but I have an assignment for us for next time because since we started this podcast, other people, more famous people than us, have started their own podcasts. So Christy Carlson Romano, who was Ren Stevens on Even Stevens, she's the voice of Kim Possible. She has a YouTube channel, and she now has her own podcast called Vulnerable with Christy Carlson Romano. First guest, none other than Will Friedle gets vulnerable, and they go through his entire career. So I want us to listen to that and kind of have that be, depending on what happens to Eric in season 4, in the rest of season 4, kind of have that be a little spotlight thing, because I think that would be kind of interesting for us to listen to a podcast and then say, hey, this was kind of awesome to listen to, or it was nice to hear his journey, or whatever. So
makes sense.
Yup. You can find us online, folks, geekcastradio.com. You can listen to and comment on all of our content. We're on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere podcasts are found. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at TFG1Mike. You can find at Geekcast Radio. For the network on Twitter, what are your Twitters? You have 3 of them, I think.
No, I have 2.
Okay.
At SCP-21 and at Steve Phillips VO.
You can also follow his show at Altered Geek, everybody. You actually have 4 with at All Things TFV3, but anyway.
Yeah. I don't plug those unless I'm actually doing them.
Oh boy. All right, folks, we're going to get the heck out of here. And thank you for still listening. If anybody's listening to this, I don't know who is or who isn't listening to this because, as I've said already in this episode, we've done these so infrequently, and that's just because of life and things and whatever. But like you said, now that Disney Plus has both Boy and Girl Meets World, we should be at least able to do one or two of these a month, and hopefully finish it by the end of this year.
That's the plan.
Let's hope. I mean, I guess we could. Drag it out to September of next year, and hey, 30 years, yay!
Then we get
Not really. I wish.
Shouldn't be that hard. Most of them aren't
already podcasting themselves anyway.
Yeah.
All right, folks, unleash the geek in you, and we will catch you next time here on Podcaster Meets World.
Look what they done to my boy.
Oh, Sean, if it's any consolation, I think you can do a lot better than Jennifer Bassett.
Think so? Wait a minute, Topanga, have you looked at her?
Okay, so she's pretty, she's tall, she drives a new red convertible. Oh, heck, I'd go out with her.